Alright guys, it's time now to debunk a little bit of Superman related clickbait that's going around with respect to the production of the film. I get it. The algorithm does unfortunately reward sensationalist negative content for sure. There has been some test screenings of Superman and there were some changes made and there were some reshoots. Now some people have interpreted this as a problem with the production. In truth, reshoots and pickups are pretty standard fare. They are par for the course in most studio films these days, in particular big movies. Let's take a look now at this Cosmic Book News article. Superman panic? Insiders downplay Gunn's course correction. Reports continue to swirl around James Gunn's Superman following claims of goofy humor, political jabs, and last-minute changes. But now insiders are pushing back, saying it's all part of the normal post-production process and that the studio is actually happy with what Gunn has delivered. No major reshoots, but changes did happen despite online noise. The Hollywood Reporter reports there were only 3 days of pickups in Atlanta, far from the claims of a full reshoot. Indeed, it does sound like this film is not going to be... This is not going the way of Captain America Brave New World, okay? With Captain America Brave New World, they basically had to reshoot a good chunk of the movie and they delayed the release date as a result. But it looks like Superman seems to be a well-oiled machine by comparison, with a standard amount of reshoots by the looks of it. According to THR's email newsletter, changes were made, but insiders describe them as typical of any blockbuster fine-tuning its final cut. Indeed, we do have to give filmmakers the ability to tinker with their movies. After all, art is never finished, as they say. Right? Ask any painter, graphic designer, composer, writer, or filmmaker, you're always looking at the end product thinking, I could have improved this, I could still see flaws here and there. You're always going to be doing that. You're always going to be thinking that way. That's just the way it is. There's always things you'd like to improve upon. And I'm sort of glad that we have people like James Gunn and also people like Chris McQuarrie who are always restructuring their movies right until the end. But go back many years. Go back to Star Trek The Motion Picture, which of course was directed by Robert Wise. That film had a lot of problems. During production, the script was being rewritten, the film was being reworked, the ending was being changed. There was a lot of issues with that movie. And even though the budget did balloon as a result of that, what Robert Wise ended up making was an absolute cinematic masterpiece. A visually breathtaking and very clever, cerebral film. And definitely my favourite Star Trek film of the franchise. But I think that's what separates a good director from a great director, a legendary director, is that despite production issues on a movie, that their vision still shines through in the end, that they still end up churning out a classic, you know. Anyway, back to the article. Here's what we know. The movie had 3 days of pickups in Atlanta, but no major reshoots. John Murphy started as the composer, providing the John Williams-inspired electric guitar riff, and David Fleming was brought in as an additional composer early on this year. Both of their music will be in the movie, as well as plenty of Williams tones. Gunn testing and tinkering. And again, this is what filmmakers should be able to do. It is an artistic craft, after all. They have to be able to experiment as they make their films in order to see what works and what doesn't. And where possible, filmmakers should be able to be given the latitude they need to execute upon their vision. The site sources say James Gunn isn't afraid of making changes, and again, it's all part of the process. And there have been a few test screenings. I'm no defender of Gunn, but none of this is unusual, says one source with knowledge of the inner workings of DC. It's part of honing of the movie, any movie. THR adds that Gunn is welcome to and isn't afraid of feedback, which is important. If there's been test screenings, you want to know what the audience thinks. That's invaluable information. If certain things aren't working or they're really bad, then they can be removed. But perhaps it's not that there's been too much with respect to reshoots. Perhaps it's more that the film has undergone re-edits, which again is pretty standard. Another person close to the production echoed the sentiment, Gunn absolutely tests, he absolutely tinkers, he's not one of those directors who can't take suggestions, this person says. And probably the film will be all the better for it. Studio appears satisfied despite the social media noise, of which there has been quite a bit, let's be honest. That's what social media does, amplifies nothing burgers. and tries to turn that into clicks. THR also says the movie is on track to lock its final cut by next Friday, 5 weeks ahead of release, which is usually a good sign. Hey, the film could still end up being rubbish, right? But I remain optimistic. I like what I see. I'm looking forward to it. We need a good Superman movie. I think that's exactly what the genre and the 2025 blockbuster summer needs right now. That about does it for today, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.